Everything is your fault, and that's awesome. Okay, fault is the wrong word. You're responsible for everything, and that's awesome. But everything is your fault's a better hook, so we started with that. There's a difference between responsibility and fault. Let me use a metaphor to explain. Imagine that you are home one night, and there's a knock at the door. And you go and open the door, and there is a baby in a bassinet in front of the door with a note that says, "Take care of this." You are not at fault for the baby being on your front door. You didn't put them there. You didn't choose to have them there. They simply arrived. You are, however, responsible for the baby on your front step. What you do will determine the outcome. You can shut the door and say, "I don't know what that is." You can take the baby inside. You can call the police or the fire department. But you're responsible for taking action even though you're not at fault for it. Why is this awesome? Why is it great to be responsible for things that aren't your fault? Because responsibility is power. With great responsibility comes great power. You've probably heard the other way. With great power comes great responsibility. But with great responsibility comes great power. If you are responsible, that means that you have the power to do something about it. If you say, "I'm not responsible, I didn't do this, it's just happening to me," now it's happening to you as opposed to happening through you. You have the ability to take actions and choose actions. I always use the example of a picnic. You plan a pretty picnic, but you can't control the weather. I think that's a song lyric. But you're still responsible for everything. Let's imagine you're responsible for everything. You plan the picnic, and it rains. If you abdicate responsibility, say, it rained. Nothing I could do. I did the best I could. And the picnic is ruined. But what if instead you work your way down? You start from, I am responsible for everything. It rained. I'm responsible for the rain. What could I have done to make it not rain? Well, nothing. What could I have done to make it not rain on this picnic? I could have checked the weather. Maybe the weather's not accurate. Maybe it is. But I could have checked the weather forecast. What could I have done to make it not rain on this picnic, or make the rain not ruin this picnic? I could have planned the picnic near a pavilion where we could flee to the pavilion if we needed to. I could have brought a tent. I could have brought an umbrella. So if I go into this picnic planning saying I am responsible for everything, including the rain, now I'm thinking, how can I stop the rain from ruining the picnic? And when I do that, I'm going to approach it differently. And I'm going to think about, everything is in my realm of responsibility. How do I manage that? Now, instead of saying, I'm going to do a picnic, but, it could rain and it could be ruined. Who knows? It just happens. Life sucks and it happens to me totally at random. Instead, I'm saying, I'm going to plan a picnic and I'm going to make it good. Well, what if it rains? I'm still going to make it good because I am responsible and empowered to deal with every situation. There will still be situations that you cannot deal with. There will still be situations that, although you're responsible, you take that responsibility and it does not empower you to solve it. But I would rather go into every situation feeling a sense of responsibility and empowerment than go into a situation saying, I hope it works. I hope so. I don't know. Because that sounds kind of stressful if your life is controlled by chance. This is why ancient people created the concept of gods and spirits and rain dances and all these things. Things they couldn't control, they wanted to have a sense of control over. And what's interesting is the power of doing so then gives you more control. You would think by abdicate, by saying, well, the gods take care of that. But there's ways I could appease the gods. And if you look at some of the methods that people appease the gods, those methods actually did something. Those methods sometimes involved fertilizing the fields or anticipating, they would say, you see how, when the sun starts to set over that mountain, it means the gods are prepared to give us rain, because that was the spring when they were approaching the rainy season. And so while they made it mythological and cosmological, it was actually something that gave them more control over the situation, knowing when they should plant and prepare. So by accepting that responsibility, even if it's a matter of creating rituals for yourself, it still gives you a power over the situation that comes from responsibility. Because, as I said before, with great responsibility comes great power.